100, there's this percentage of them that you're going to be able to find more stuff that they need, and then you're going to be able to sell it to them, and they're not going to know because their insurance pays for it, and you can milk out this much money to pay your bills.
Well, I believe administration believes like that. But doctors, I think they honestly...
Yeah, they've been 12 years of education. Absolutely. And even the administrators. I don't think that it's like some kind of draconian thing as much as it's more like it's institutionalized. And each person plays a cog in a wheel of a machine that they have a difficult time seeing the totality of, because they're immersed in it. But from out here, looking at the whole thing completely, outside of it, it's kind of obvious what it is. But no, I don't mean to give that impression like the doctors are like scheming these things up, because I know they're not. But or most of them aren't. But ultimately, whether they do or not, that's sort of what it's become, right? And the net result is obvious. What you're going to end up with is breast cancer. The official stance of the breast cancer or whatever research institutes, whatever, is that bras are completely unrelated to cancer. I mean, I know I'm just some guy who just laid out a case, but I think it's kind of obvious that they might play some role, even if tertiary, some role, right? For them to say not at all, okay guys, then what does cause it? Well, they're not coming back with anything. Last thing I think is most important. More important than mechanical, in other words, the fluid dynamics of the breast. More important than chemical, in other words, the kind of molecules we eat, the foods we eat, the toxins that are taken into our body or flushed out. So more important than mechanical or chemical is really emotional. Bottom line, it's always going to be, right? The mind-body connection, that like amazing area of research that's being done that our ancestors told us about forever and that any basic child can understand. That you really are the product of your emotions, right? That's obvious. You're the product of your emotions. Is this not obvious to you? It's time to put some energy towards that part of your life. Because you absolutely are what you think about, and you are absolutely what you're feeling. And the thoughts you hold in your head, and the feelings you associate to those thoughts shape your experience of reality. It goes like this. This is so simple. Oh, life sucks, and everything around me sucks, and everyone hates me, and I hate everyone, no one loves me, and blah, blah, blah. And then you run into somebody with that attitude, even if you think you're concealing it, because 7% of communication is verbal. That means 93% of your communication is nonverbal. So 93% of you is communicating everything sucks and no one loves me, and you run into a stranger walking down the street who's in a good mood. Hey, how you doing? Oh, they're a happy person. They want to say hi to you. But they see you like this. Then they're kind of going to like bypass you. And then you get to go, yeah, see, everybody wants to look me in the eye. So your reality is a product of what you're thinking and feeling. So if you're raised in a culture that shows you plastic and movable breasts, everyone perfect, right, done like schematically on a computer program, airbrushed, filled with a silicone implant, and that's what you see day after day in media, magazines, television. You see women augmenting themselves to appear that way. You see people who don't do surgical augmentation doing other types of augmentation like inflatable bras or padded bras or all the things to everyone appear like they have these perfect breasts of like a perky 16-year-old all the time. What starts to happen is you develop emotions that go like, I'm not good enough, there's something weird about my breasts. One's kind of bigger than the other one of my nipples points a different direction, or like whatever, like, and that thought form gets chewed on for years. So years and years of those thoughts to the point that they become subconscious, and you're not maybe consciously aware that that's a 24-hour-a-day tape playing in the background. That's a public service announcement to your cells being played in the background. You're not good enough. I gotta hide you. Couple that with the fact that at age 4, 5, 6 years old, you're never allowed to take your shirt off in public again, right? That's it. You get a couple of years between like birth to diapers where you can walk around with no shirt, and then after that it's over, right? You could go to some freaky kind of left-wing hippie place where you might be able to take them off, or you might be like a Montreal swinger. Other than that, you're keeping your shirt on forever. Forever. Women. How many women in this room have showed their breasts to the sunlight for more than 15 minutes in the last year? 2 years? 3 years? 4 years? 5 years? 6 years? 7 years? 8 years? 9 years? See what I'm saying? So, it's like, if you wanted that bread to stop molding, you might put it out in the sun. That's kind of obvious, right? The sun doesn't cause cancer, right? We can let that one go. I think in this room we can finally go like, that's just ridiculous. Sunlight kills cancer, right? Like vitamin D deficiency is implicated in over 70 types of cancer. Without vitamin D, cancer is pretty inevitable. Without vitamin D, cancer is pretty inevitable. You make vitamin D from the sun. You also make good feelings in the sun. We might call those good feelings chemical things like serotonin, or we might call them psychological terms. We might call them like seasonal affective disorder. But really, what it is the sun makes you feel good and healthy. But if you're going around with, I have this dirty secret that I have to keep hidden inside, locked up, immovable, strapped in, but I'm going to pretend to be pretty, and I'm never going to talk about it, and every other woman I encounter is going to play and pretend too, and we're all going to go through society hoping we're good enough. What you're doing is constantly sending messages to the cells in those breasts that they're not really loved, they're not really cared for, that there's something wrong with them. You couple that with all the stuff we talked about today, and you've basically got a recipe for breast cancer. And that's obvious too, right? It's a recipe. Like if you were like, Daniel, if the Illuminati approached me and they were like, Daniel, what we want to do, we want you to be the formulator for a recipe for breast cancer. How would you do it? I would lay out the case I just gave you. So the obvious thing then is, what's the antidote? Antidote, I love that. To dotes, I think about something, right? The antidote would be like releasing all those things, and instead choosing a lifestyle that was filled with what? Positive thoughts about yourself and your body. Whether your body conforms to or not images of what our alleged perfection at this point in culture is. Because as you all know, the ideal female body type changes like the seasons, right? It's fashion, body as fashion, so it keeps changing. I remember when I was a kid, it was like, I was just born right about the time that like Twiggy was out. And then it came into like the voluptuous Cindy Crawford-like. Then it shifted over into like this heroin young boy look that's big right now. It keeps changing, right? There was times where a much more voluptuous physique was in. There's places in the world where obesity is what's attractive. So there's all these different ideas of beauty. This one's current. So whether you conform to that or not has absolutely nothing to do with you. Who cares? A mind filled with positive thoughts about oneself, whether it takes practice and exercise of the mind to create that or not, and emotions that couple with that. So this doesn't work. I feel good about myself. I feel good about myself. It has to be accompanied with an emotion which you're in control of. So please know you're in control of your emotions, especially when you get off of soy, especially when you get away from plastics, especially when you stop drinking plastic-contained milk and water. Suddenly, you get control of your emotions back. So emotions that are of love for oneself and belief in oneself's ability to be sovereign as a being, to be in self-control, coupled with a lifestyle that interacts with the four elements. In other words, the fire of the sun, the electrically charged air of the atmosphere, the highly mineralized foods of the earth, and the very clean waters that are the blood of the planet. When you bring those four elements into your life, coupled with good thoughts and good emotions, you have a recipe for beaming health and for the fulfillment of your DNA blueprint, which is the highest expression of what's possible for you as a human being. Because we've been living in a really limited world. And there seems to be, whether draconian or simply through some strange pattern, there seems to be forces at work who seek to limit you and keep you with your wings sort of tucked behind you so that you can't really ever set free to fly and find out who you really are. So the whole goal and the whole message of this really isn't about breast cancer. It's about your sovereignty. And I like to focus on health sovereignty because if you don't have health, it's very difficult to really express what you're capable of because you're constantly behind the line battling the diseases off, trying to keep the symptoms at bay, and you can't ever really get free to explore what you are. But when you have health, suddenly you have a platform from which to take flight. So ultimately, I'm not here to tell you about breast cancer. I'm here to tell you that you're sovereign, that you don't need a priesthood of doctors to tell you you're sick or well. You don't even need an herbalist to tell you what you need. All the answers for your health are within you. They start with your mind and your emotions. When those things are in alignment, all this information will come to you. You won't even have to seek it. You will attract it magnetically, because that's really the law of the universe. Thank you.
You don't know what you're doing to me, baby.